Well, it's time for Hanging with Wayne's, our soon-to-be regular feature with Wayne Button on books and Wayne Walsh on TV. We're going to start it this morning with what Wayne Button's reading, a true crime thriller that was his wife's recommendation. Good morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Janice. How are you doing today?
I'm not too bad. So what book is your nose in this week?
This week I'll be reviewing Michelle McNamara. She did a book called Gone in the Dark, and it's about the Golden State Killer.
Wow, sounds interesting. Can you tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, so this book, I actually decided to read it now because there's a show coming out about it at the end of June. HBO is doing a docuseries about it, and so it'll probably be a good thing for the other Wayne to review as well. So Michelle McNamara, she's a writer, and she eventually became obsessed with true crime. She started writing blogs about true crime, and then she eventually became even a consultant for Dateline NBC. And she actually became obsessed with it because one of her neighbors died, or was murdered, when she was 14 years old, and they never ever found the killer. And she started to become obsessed with it through then, and then she ended up becoming really obsessed with the Golden State Killer. And I never actually knew. I mean, there's some serial killers out there that are pretty famous, people know, but I never actually knew about this until I came across it in a reference in another book. And this guy was pretty much a deviant. I mean, he completely terrorized the state of California for over 15 years, actually. So he committed, at the end of it, he actually did over 100 burglaries, 50 rapes, and 13 murders, and was not caught until 2018.
Wow.
It's actually pretty sad because Michelle herself, who wrote the book, she passed away in 2016 unexpectedly, so she never got to live to see him get caught. And he got caught 2 years later, based on a process. There's a lot of books coming out about this now. It's called, can't remember the exact name of it, but it's DNA studies where they actually look at family trees, and that's actually how they found him, through like these Ancestor.com DNA sites. They actually traced his family tree, came up with two suspects, and then they actually got his DNA, and it was linked to the Golden State Killer, and they caught him.
So, Wayne, is it the story that grabbed you here, or was it Michelle's writing?
It's a bit of both, because, like I said, I was really surprised. I never heard of this guy. In fact, Michelle was the one that coined the term Golden State Killer. Originally, what happened was this guy was known as the East Area Rapist in the mid-'70s, and then he started to move down to Southern California, and he progressed to killing people, not raping them, and he became the original Night Stalker. But what they found through DNA over a period of time was that they were the same person. So they were actually different counties investigating what they thought was different people, and DNA linked them to be the same person. So she deemed the term Golden State Killer. She thought, the Zodiac Killer and these people, they didn't kill as many people, but they have more notoriety because of their names. So she decided to put a name to it, which really brought it to the forefront to the media. And her writing's really good, because if you sit down and look at the Wikipedia page of this killer, I mean, if you did a book on all the different aspects of it, it probably would eventually get boring because it's very repetitive and it's over 15 years. But she bounces around. She starts off with, true to narrative of things that happened in the 70s, and then she goes to the present day when she wrote the book, and she's actually driving around with retired detectives, and they're helping her try to research this, and then she goes back to the 70s again. So the bounce around, actually, it isn't hard to follow. It actually keeps you on your toes and makes the book more interesting.
So is the book gruesome, though?
It's not gruesome. It's creepy. Like the things this guy did and said, if anybody's really interested in this, there's a podcast, and if you Google it, this guy used to actually he called one of his victims that he raped 24 years after he raped her. And they actually recorded the call, and it's like the creepiest voice ever. It's like he hides his voice, he does this breathing through his teeth, and he whispers, he blindfolds his victims. The way he did it was just extremely eerie. And then he progressed. He started with just women at home alone, and then he said, you know what, I want a bigger challenge, because that's how he progressed. And he actually went to husbands and wives. So what he would do is he would actually tie the husband up, and he would put plates on his back.
Oh yeah, it sounds like a very different kind of read for somebody who might be into that sort of thing. I want to change the topic there a little bit. Are you using the online provincial e-library service these days to get your hands on books?
No, I haven't. I mean, anything like that is great, though. I mean, I heard, I wanted to give a shout out actually to the people in Goose Bay that did the mini library. I heard your show earlier. I think that's a brilliant idea. I looked that up a long time ago. There's over like 50,000 of them across the globe. I came across the first one when I was in South Carolina vacationing. So I think it's great that they're doing that in Goose Bay.
So who would you recommend Michelle's book for?
Anybody who's really into true crime, obviously, and researching criminology and things like that. Anybody who maybe they're like into horror movies and they want to be scared a bit. Like I said on my post of this on social media, one of my recommendations is actually probably not to read it home alone or at night, because I started to read it when my wife was on night shift, and it wasn't a good idea. It kind of creeped me out. So I recommend that to anybody, yeah.
Well, Wayne, thanks so much for that. And that's Wayne Button, of course, with his book recommendation this week. It's Michelle McNamara's book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, One Woman's Obsessive Search for the Golden State Killer.
Anything after this? Funny feeling we did.
We were watching TV. Watching TV. We were watching TV. Watching TV.
Well, from serial killers to two very funny TV sitcoms. TV Wayne, that's Wayne Walsh, wanted to bring us something light this morning. Now, here's some music that some of you may recognize. And that is from Schitt's Creek. And today, Wayne has chosen two fun CBC shows, Schitt's Creek and Working Moms. Now, he swears they are really funny. And no, we didn't pay him to say that. Wayne, be honest, were you surprised that these shows are funny because they are CBC shows?
Good morning. Yeah. The way I described it yesterday is that we're growing up used to north of 60, and these shows are the complete opposite of something like that. It's really modern age tales and very funny.
So what is it about Working Moms that appeals to you? I'm not sure you're the demographic there for that show.
No, but like most people who end up watching evening shows with young kids and working jobs, like myself and my wife are two working parents and two young kids. My wife's a nurse, and I work in the mines, obviously. But the premise for a man to watch that, because it's mostly directed towards the lady population, is that it's just funny, and it's also I've noticed for my wife that it's kind of relatable, and it's just the way the show is brought out in a modern way to see how women actually handle, leaving their newborn after maternity, going back into professional life, and trying to balance those two acts. Whether it's big advertising jobs like in that show, or if they're just going to work any day, it's relatable, and they make it kind of funny in a way that you can start understanding what your wives, girlfriends, or significant others might go through when they actually end up going back to work after maternity leave.
And watching it with your wife, does she keep telling you, see?
My wife is pretty great with shows like that. It's funny to see her laugh and to see something like that relatable. I couldn't help but laugh also. So it's just something that you can get together with your wife. You can actually watch it and, as a man, take one for the team.
Now, Schitt's Creek has won Emmys, and it's fabulous. What do you like about that show?
Schitt's Creek is just filled with these great actors that you would not expect to see even on like a TV show with Eugene Levy from the American Pie movies, Catherine O'Hara. His son Dave Levy is also one of the main characters in the show, and it's just about a rich family who buys a town that sounds funny for a funny birthday prank back in the day, but their business manager loses their money and they end up having to move to that town. And it's just it's nice to see a show that's so lighthearted but still funny. Eugene Levy's character is absolutely hilarious, and he's a funny man as it is.
So do you watch these shows with your kids or after they go to bed?
We're after bed people, and the good thing, I know last week we started with like a mini series, but these are kind of shows that are more lighthearted, and they're only 20-minute shows without commercials on Netflix. So in the evenings, it's just something you can sit down, you can pop off an episode or maybe two, and you can still keep doing what you want to do during your time away from the kids, which is very valuable to parents. And so.
Absolutely. So Wayne, have you gone through all the seasons of Schitt's Creek as well as Working Moms?
Yeah, we have. It's been not a long time. They've been out for a while now. They don't really get the coverage they deserve. I think people are not used to seeing absolutely funny, hilarious, award-winning shows on CBC for people around our age and demographic. So it's just trying to get people to get over the hump of actually taking the time to get in, watch an episode or two. Sometimes they don't always grasp you the first time, but if you don't laugh during these shows, there's something that you need to work on because they're absolutely hilarious.
Well, I'm glad that you told us more about it this morning. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you very much, and enjoy your weekend.
You as well. And that's Wayne Walsh, who recommends you check out CBC shows Schitt's Creek and Working Moms.